people have been saying on the internet, claims made about me, so on and so forth, just to simply give you my thoughts, my response, and to take accountability where necessary. Now, we are going to go ahead and just allow it a moment. Let's also make sure that we got the YouTube stream going on. There's a lot of people who tune in over on YouTube compared to TikTok. And I'm really happy that I checked because there's no audio over on YouTube. I'm very happy that I checked that. Hello, everybody. Hi, everyone over on YouTube. You could hear me now. I'm really happy that I checked that. Let's go to get the timestamp so I know what to cut after the stream over there. Okay, it's 1 minute and 24 seconds in. So once again, for everybody joining us, I appreciate you so much for being in here with us for the day. The purpose of this stream today is for me to speak to you guys about what has been going on as of recently, and my response to a lot of the claims and statements directed at me made in videos, on top of my thoughts and where I need to take accountability. And it looks like everyone could hear me over on YouTube now. We are good over on TikTok. We are going to go ahead and allow it another moment. Now, just to get more people in here, here's what I will say. This is going to be a shorter stream. It is going to be a shorter stream. So what I'd recommend doing is point number 1, if you want to screen record, go for it. If you want to reshare this after the fact anywhere. Point number 2, if you are interested in finding a type of transcript, I think I'm going to make one publicly available over on my Discord, which you could find through the link tree in my bio after the fact. But point number 3, I think that we are all good to go. So we are going to go ahead and hop into things right now. So first and foremost, I appreciate everyone for joining me here today. Over the last 4 days, claims and criticisms about myself have spread like wildfire on the internet, and today I wanted to discuss them with a shorter stream. So I'd like to start off by saying that there's been plenty of good faith critiques made by good faith people. And in fact, I would like to begin by responding to those. I find there to be a couple key points. To address the first one, I'm going to read a public comment left in my Discord echoing it. So we're going to go ahead and start reading that now. Yeah, I'm going to be honest, Dean. You don't have to react to this or respond because there are more pressing matters in here to respond to. I don't have an issue with the initial cry, and what I'm more so irritated at, because it takes a lot for me to be angry, is the fact that you made some grand moral gesture that you were better than those who felt relief that Kirk could no longer spread his bigotry. I am a queer woman in a red state, and because of Charlie Kirk's rhetoric, I cannot get healthcare that I might need. Because of his rhetoric, my community is constantly being persecuted, and that is just a fraction of what my friends that are BIPOC, especially Black, have had to deal with because of his rhetoric. I couldn't help but be relieved that he is no longer here to espouse his rhetoric and bigotry, and to have some cis straight white boy minimize the impact just simply irritated me. I can't even imagine the hurt and frustrations that others felt just to keep this in mind. So now to respond to that. I said that in response to those celebrating the physical facts of the assassination. However, if I'm going to be honest with myself here, the takeaway of my message for many was that if you feel relief because said bigotry will no longer be espoused by him, you are an immoral, bad person. Now, to that, I apologize. I do. I apologize. I want to clarify. Feeling a sense of relief that this person will no longer be spewing bigotry is natural. And this feeling exists in so many people that were directly affected by his rhetoric. And in fact, it is separate and decoupled from the facts of why he can no longer espouse his bigotry, which are, of course, in relation to how he died. I would like to apologize to every single person that I've made feel differently. In the moment, my brain just simply could not separate the fact that Charlie would no longer be spewing his hate and the fact that he got publicly executed the way he did. This whole thing has mentally fucked with me so much for the reasons that I've already made public and more, such as the fact that my best friend was there and had to personally witness the assassination and the trauma he's taken away from that, The fact that I watched the up-close video of his death and the psychological impact that watching such a gory video had on me, or just the fact that I'm a political commentator and I have been scared shitless dealing with the either logical or illogical thought that this might happen to me one day. For these reasons, the day of and the day after, my rational faculties were overwhelmed by my emotional ones. I was thinking purely emotionally, and during this time, I shouldn't have been live. It was reckless and irresponsible for so many reasons. It is also worth adding on here that I'm sure many of you in my live, were in my live or joined my live the day after what unfolded and watched me try to have a conversation with a lady by the name of Covey, or as I call her, Athena. Wrapping it back into my last point, I shouldn't have been live during this time. I was not in the proper headspace to be attempting to hold genuine dialogue, and I want to let you all know that since then, I have spoken with her privately, as I truly wanted to have a conversation with her in a space where I was more receptive to dialogue. I spoke with her for 30 minutes, and honestly, it was a really good conversation. And that's all I will share publicly about that for now. However, Athena, I apologize, as I told you privately, I also want to say it publicly. I apologize for being unwilling to hear you out during our original conversation on live. Now, the next point I would like to address is my usage of the term retaliatory in one of my videos going over the fact that in response to Kirk's death, people on the right have retaliated by making threats towards HBCUs. This raised questions in the heads of many, given a definition of the term retaliation, requiring that a retaliatory action is being done back to someone who did something to you first. And obviously, this wouldn't make sense in the context of bomb threats towards HBCUs, as these HBCUs nor black people assassinated Charlie Kirk. In my video, I used the term retaliatory in the sense that people on the right wanted to get revenge for the death of Kirk, so they retaliated by baselessly and deliberately being racist and attacking black people at HBCUs. However, I think that the points made on this subject were valid and correct, and I definitely should have used other language to better convey this point, and I apologize for the usage of the term retaliatory. And I think that is incredibly fair. And at this point, there's something else that I'd like to touch on. Directly following Kirk's death, I said something that has been taken out of context and misinterpreted by people on both the right and the left, that being a 3-second clip of me saying, and I quote, "If you guys draw this line between the left and the right, I will side with the right." People on the right have taken this clip out of context and used it to promote the right, saying that I will be MAGA soon, I'm going to convert to conservatism, so on and so forth. Meanwhile, people on the left have been taking this clip and using it to push the narrative that I am a performative grifter who was MAGA 2 years ago, which is also false, that is now going, quote unquote, back to my roots after getting a little pushback from the left to continue to grift and to capitalize politics. First off, I think we should discuss the context of this clip. I said that I would side with the right on one specific point over the left if hypothetically the entirety of the left join arms in the open celebration of the gruesome facts of his assassination. This was not a reaction to me seeing people on the left doing this, but rather a statement made directly following Kirk's death to reinforce that the reaction I described of celebrating the gruesome facts of his assassination is not what the left should become. In context, I meant that I oppose celebrating the facts of gruesome violence, not that I would abandon my progressive values, just merely that I would disagree with my left-leaning audience if they were to embrace the open celebration of the specific facts of gruesome violence. And I want to be incredibly clear on this next point. Okay? To be so clear, I will never, ever side with a movement that seeks to harm LGBTQ plus people, black and brown people, or other marginalized communities. Point number one, The left is not doing this. The left is not responding with the open celebration of gruesome facts of his assassination. And point number 2, I shouldn't have said this. It has been easy to take out of context and to turn into harmful propaganda by right-wing ideologues, and has left many people on the left very confused about where I stand in the authenticity of my content. It was a horrifically worded statement about a hypothetical situation that hasn't occurred, and I have to urge again that I do not believe that this is happening. I don't believe that it's happening at all. Now, I see every critique discussed so far as valid and worthy of discourse, concern, and deserving of a response towards myself. And before I continue, I would also like to bring up the fact that right now, I'm looking at the chats over on TikTok. This is not pre-recorded. This is live. This is live. This is me going over all the thoughts in my head that I've developed over the course of the last couple days. Now, the last point that I'd like to bring up in the conversation about me is about me crying in response to the facts surrounding Kirk's assassination. I want to be very clear at this point. I cried because of the gory nature of the up-close video and my sensitivity to gore. I cried because of the fact that although I despised him, I still quote-unquote knew him personally, as I'd met him on a handful of occasions, and this is the first time anybody that I've personally interacted with has passed in such a violent, unexpected way. And even though I stand against everything he stood for, that was a part of my reaction. I also cried because my best friend was personally there at his event in Utah, who was also sensitive and had to witness those things firsthand, knowing that this will be incredibly traumatizing to him. I cried because the BBC had reported that his kids were there, and the thought of them having to watch such a gory, violent event unfold right in front of them hurt me. However, it is also worth adding on that the BBC did later retract that reporting, and they labeled it as false. And lastly, I'm going to be honest here, I cried because I was scared. I was scared that as a political commentator myself, this could happen to me one day, and the fear became very real when it happened to him. And this isn't a fear I'm labeling as rational. And in fact, if you think this reaction was unreasonable, I believe that you have a right to uphold your position. However, believe that regardless of what it was human. And there's also plenty of people saying, why would you cry over this but not Palestine, victims of school shootings, etc.? And specifically to that, I'd like to respond to this point. I have publicly sobbed on live over Palestine. That happened in December of 2024, I believe. I have publicly sobbed on live because I kicked a guest with a speech impediment, thinking that they were trolling and mocking those with actual speech impediments. And in fact, on the same day as Kirk's shooting, off live, I cried over the shooting at Evergreen High School after a student of the high school reached out to me following the shooting that took place. It is uncomfortable for me to describe these specific scenarios of where and when I've cried. It feels weird. It does. It feels weird. And in fact, I even know it comes off as a little bit performative, for lack of a better word. But the reason I've chosen to explain these is to dispel the false narratives that I've seen propagated on the internet in the last 4 days. I am just generally a pretty sensitive guy, and I'm not desensitized to violence. I'm not desensitized to gore, and I would like to add that if you did not cry, I'm not going to judge you, and in fact, I would condemn anybody that would judge you. And just to wrap this up, I believe that Charlie Kirk is a man whose death should not be glorified. He is a man who stood and advocated for hate, division, and a very bleak future for this country. And I stand true and unwavering in my values of liberalism, progressivism, and advocacy for a better tomorrow by making those in this country think critically and to question their beliefs by attempting to revive intellectualism for the greater good of humanity. I appreciate you for listening, regardless of you over on TikTok, YouTube, or maybe you're watching this after the fact. And I hope that you will give me a chance to prove my words with my actions going forward, especially for those who have supported me thus far and have been disappointed by me, whether by the things I did or the things people said I did during the last few days. And if you want to see this video and the things that I've had to say, or maybe the things that I have to say moving on, you'll be able to find it on YouTube after the fact. I'll have a VOD over there that's going to stay public. And maybe I'll also end up taking the transcript and throwing it in my Discord. And for everybody that has joined thus far, I appreciate you for hearing me out. I really do. I'm going to go ahead and end the live now. Thank you for joining. That's going to be it for the day. And one last thing. On the live stream that I did host on Wednesday, I said I would donate all the proceeds from it to a nonprofit organization focused on ending gun violence. This morning, I got the payout from TikTok for that. So I'll be making that donation this evening. I'm not so sure when I'll be back. Maybe it'll be tomorrow. Love you guys, and see you then. Have a good rest of your night, everyone.